Good morning foodies, I'm Quet.
I'm Wei Lun.
Welcome to the Gourmet Plate.
The movement control order in Malaysia is still in force, so we can't dine in at restaurants. Hence today will be another stay-at-home food adventure. Today, we are going to try some progressive South Indian cuisine from an establishment called Nadodi. Nadodi means nomad or wanderer in Tamil, and this restaurant pays homage to the journey made by the Kerala nomadic tribes over the land bridge that once existed to Sri Lanka. So the dishes from Nadodi are mainly inspired by Tamil Nadu, Kerala and Sri Lanka. So we placed our order a day in advance with Nadodi and it will be delivered I think 2 hours from now. And for now, let us have our breakfast, which is what we call heiban. Yeah, it's a Chinese Hakka traditional snack. So it's basically a pretty spongy, fluffy rice cake thing. And it has this very nice flowery fragrance. And it's mainly sweet, right? There's a very nice flowery sweetness. It's a mildly tasting rice cake. Delicious. By the way, Quet made this. She has perfected the art of making heiban. Let's skip the boring part of us eating. Transition time! Ooh, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here, it's here. Ta-cha! Oh, this is the chutney. I think this is for one of our deep fried dishes. As you can see, pretty nicely packaged. And very considerate as well, because this is more of a gravyish dish, so they actually wrap it up in this plastic foil. But I think in order for us to have a proper experience, I think we should plate this properly. By the way, it's still warm. And I can smell the dish even though it's still covered. Okay, let's quickly start plating it. Ta-da! So this is the best we can do. We didn't plate two of the dishes because they are in this very saucy format and there's actually plating involved in these delivery dishes. Yeah, so we didn't change them because we cannot plate it the same way. I gotta say, the room is now smelling of spices.
Yep.
Especially the biryani. My god, this is amazing!
Yeah.
The biryani comes as a set, right?
Yeah.
It's a chicken biryani and it comes with 3 stuff. This and this. And this is 1 pack of biryani. It comes in 2 packs. We have the other pack right here. So guys, it's a lot. If you're not a big eater, I think you can probably easily feed 4 people. They mentioned it's 2 to 3, but I think, dude, come on, this is a huge plate. So probably 4 people easily. First of all, I want to apologize in advance. We are not well versed in Indian cuisine. If we got anything wrong, or if we mispronounce anything, which I'm sure we will murder the pronunciation, please correct us in the comments down below. We are here to learn together. Okay, without further ado, let's quickly start with the deep fried stuff first. This is the river prawn rava fried. So it comes with this dip. This is the yuzu kosho chutney dip. Let's quickly try it out first before we explain later. Crispy. Lightly battered, very lightly battered. And there's an ensemble of spices. Spicy, salty. A little bit of this sourness, right? Within the batter. I think the prawn is pretty firm. Not as expected, yeah. But fresh, definitely can tell it's fresh. And it's not marinated in some turmeric or something because it's got a yellowish hue on the prawn. The chutney is the really interesting part because it gives a very nice, refreshingly light and a bit sour taste.
Yeah.
By the way, chutney is a form of an Indian dip, and yuzu kosho is more of a Japanese seasoning. It's made from chili pepper, yuzu, and some salt, and then they ferment it. So I think this is a very interesting flavor. To be honest, I didn't really taste the yuzu. It does taste very much like a yogurty, gooey consistency dip. And I think it goes very well with the prawn because it cuts down on that deep fried oiliness and the heavier flavor tone of the prawn. The dip is good.
Yeah.
I think the prawn, although it's crispy and nice and very fragrant, everything is on the salty side in a way,
Yeah.
even with the dip. By the way, this batter here is what we call rava, which is a type of flour. I believe it's called semolina flour. It's made from durum wheat. Generally, this kind of flour is used for mainly for pastas, I think, and for pizza bread stuff, which is why it's more brownish in color because of the natural coloring of the flour itself. Yeah, I'm really impressed by how crispy it is despite it being delivery. And we did take a while to plate the stuff, and of course we filmed some montages. All in all, interesting flavor, but prawn is a bit firm. Let's move on to the mutton kola urandai, which is a chettinad preparation of basically ground up mutton meatballs with spices, and then it is deep fried. Moderately spicy, not very spicy. And then all that combination is like a sea of spice flavors that just comes in and engulfs you in a way. The mutton is quite prominent too, the flavor of the mutton is prominent. But as you chew, there are certain parts that could be a little bit chewy. Actually, I'm wondering if we dip it into the sauce, would it be better if we put it into the chutney? Oh no. Oh, you can't dip into the chutney. Because the chutney flavor, it will overpower this entire meatball. Yeah, because the meatball flavor is actually quite delicate. Even though it's very prominent, it's quite delicate. Not bad. Pretty good. And it's crispy too. Let's quickly move on to the nasi biryani, which is I think the star of the show here. And if I'm not wrong, I think this is Nadudi's signature and impressively looking.
Yeah.
Of course, we did a little bit of plating on our own, but basically we just replicated what they did. They pour some nuts on top, and they've got some of these raisins, and they've got some shallots as well. Really, really beautiful. Okay, we're going to quickly move some of it into our bowls, and let's try this out. Smells really good. Okay. Oh. Oh, this rice is good. I need some time to process the flavors. It's complex. Guys, this is some addictive rice. Let's talk about the textures first. Individually grain textures. And I noticed it is short grain rice. And it is very bouncy and chewy. Every single grain is bouncy and chewy. Very good texture. It's a dry dish. You can really tell it's dry, but it's not dry in a bad way.
Yeah.
There's no moisture in the rice, but it's done perfectly. That's the only way I can say it. Flavor. The first thing that hits you is how light, this biryani is. It's light, but within this lightness, there's this mountain of spices that's been used behind this rice. When you eat it, there are all the spices, right? But there's no spiciness. But after you have taken a bite, a very mild, harmonizing spiciness, it lingers on your tongue. I would say it's a very addictive sensation. And if you get a bite of their raisin, you get that sweetness. The fried shallots on top, they give that nice fragrance and that oiliness.
And there's some cashew in the rice, so it gives you the crunchy and the nutty flavor.
Yes, you will get it in your bite. And I just happened to grab one of their pieces of chicken. It's tender. And I think the chicken's flavor itself has infused into the rice. So they basically have the same flavor. This is really the type of rice that on first bite, you know it's good. But it doesn't blow you away immediately. You're like, this is really good biryani. And then as you take bite after bite, and you start getting all the flavors going, the combination of their textures and flavors, you get happier and happier. It's like, guys, if you have watched Food Wars, Shokugeki Soma, this is what happens like in the anime. It's like you take a first bite, you're like, and then you're like, NANI? And then you just, that's the feeling you're getting on this biryani. It's really good, my god. Before we carry on eating just the rice, let's quickly move on to other dishes. This is the aubergine sauna. Aubergine, if I'm not wrong, is basically eggplant. It's just a different name for eggplant or brinjal, however you call it. It's eggplant. And sauna is sort of like a sauce base. And cucumber raita is basically curd with cucumber and yakon. Yakon is another type of vegetable as well, right? The outer surface of yakon looks sort of like a potato, but the taste is totally not a potato. It's more like, if it's fresh, it's juicy, crunchy, and sweet. Yeah, so let's quickly try the eggplant first. Actually, I'm very interested to try out the sauce first. Let me just get a bit of that sauce. Oh! Hey! The gravy has a perfect balance between watery and thick. It's got a very smooth texture to it, not grainy at all. And the flavor is complex. I don't know how to explain this. There's some spiciness, but the spiciness doesn't attack you head on. It appears like towards the end of your tongue and your throat, little bits of tiny kick. There's sweetness in it, and a very complex, earthy, plant-based tone to the flavor. I love the gravy sauce. I love it. It's so good. It's savory, it's sweet, a little bit of spiciness. Let's quickly just try the eggplant with this sauce.
You can still taste the crunchiness.
And very fibrous, in a good way. And there's a natural flavor in the eggplant, but the main flavor profile is that sauce. I think it goes extremely well with the eggplant. That's a good one. Okay, we're gonna try some of the sauce with the rice. Okay, itadakimasu. I don't know if it makes it better or it doesn't make it better. The rice flavor actually sort of neutralizes the sauce flavor, right? Yeah, I think you should eat the rice on its own. I mean, that goes to show how flavorful the rice is, I think. Even though it's light, I didn't expect the rice flavor to overpower the sauna flavor, to be honest, because the sauna tasted very flavorful and more rich. So I think you need to eat it separately, but I really don't mind just grabbing the gravy every now and then. Like, mouthful after mouthful. Oh, that's some good gravy. Okay, we're gonna move on to what I would think is the most beautifully presented. And this is where you really tell that there was effort in the plating, even though it's in delivery form. Shall we just quickly take one spoonful each and try it out? Very yogurty. And the crunch, refreshing. Nice. But I can't tell which is the yakon, which is the cucumber. Let me try a bit of it again. I think there is like a little bit of slight sourness with a little bit of very mild sweetness. I think those are the yakon, I'm guessing. And the other one has no flavor, that's obviously a cucumber. He has the cucumber flavor in a way. I would say interestingly refreshing. Thick and rich. Okay, let us quickly mop this up and then we will see you later for a little bit of summary on our thoughts on Nadodi's takeout set. That was a glorious lunch. I think all in all we had a very pleasant experience with Nadodi's delivery. Let's talk about their nasi biryani. I think hands down, best biryani I've had. Yeah, amazing rice texture, so good. And the flavors, I don't know how they do it. It's just ridiculously flavorful and at the same time light. And it's so addictive. We literally finished the whole plate. That huge mountain of plate you saw, we finished it. Not something that I'm proud of, but it was good. The aubergine sauna. I loved it. I loved it. The eggplant has very good texture layering. A mix between crunchy and soft. And they seem to have sort of glazed the top with some sort of sweet spice, right? It's got a very interesting flavor and it goes extremely well with the sauna. And the sauna, now I remember, it reminds me sort of like a thicker consistency of those Western broth.
Oh, like the pumpkin soup.
Yeah, it's like a pumpkin soup with spicy notes in it. Just imagine if the sauna is piping hot and you dip some stone oven baked bread from Soup Stock Tokyo.
Okay.
It feels like a Soup Stock Tokyo creation. By the way, that's a Tokyo soup store that we absolutely love. Yeah, so love the sauna very much. Raita as well, definitely hands down the best raita we have had. You know, generally in banana leaf rice stores or mamak stores, when you eat banana leaf rice, they have the cucumber raita. It's very watery. You always taste the cucumber first before the raita. In this case, you actually taste the raita first. The raita is amazing in its texture. You taste the raita first and then you taste your yakon and the cucumber, with them maintaining their own very natural flavors. The mutton kola urandai, I would say very impressive. I think the key point lies in the flavor, the amount of spices in there, the intensity of the spice, and that lamb's, in a way, gaminess, but in a very nice way. I loved it. In fact, I think the slight chewiness is actually a boon rather than a bane. I think it's actually something that I quite like in the texture. So all in all, the entire set, I would say, fantastic. Nadodi actually recommended this set, and I think that was a very good recommendation. Amazing set. And of course, it's not cheap, but for the quality and the flavors and the textures, well worth it. Well worth it. As for the river prawn rava fry, it's very well spiced, but I think there's a little bit of over saltiness in the batter. It sort of disrupts the balance a tad. And the prawn is more firm. I don't know if it is the type of prawn because this is a river prawn, but it is firm and it lacks bounce in a way. Still very, very decent, don't get me wrong. Very, very decent, crispy, aromatic.
Just not our favorite.
Yeah, just not our favorite. Yeah. So that is our dining experience at home with Nadodi's delivery. We are most likely going to try out the remaining dishes that Nadodi has to offer on their delivery menu. And if we do, you'll find it up in our Instagram profile under Nadodi's highlights. It is also nearing Chinese New Year, so we would like to wish everyone a happy Chinese New Year in advance.
恭喜发财.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah, and stay safe, everyone.
Yeah, and stay safe, everyone. So that's it for our food adventure for this week. If you like what you see, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell button. Till we eat again next week. Bye bye.